Hey everybody. So it's a gorgeous day outside, and had a few minutes. I thought I would pop on and answer some questions. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask. If not, then I'll talk about how awesome copyright registrations are. And so one of the things that people talk about with copyright is that there's an automatic copyright, and then there's also a copyright registration. And the automatic copyright's great. It automatically comes into play as soon as you create something that is in a fixed form. So like if you draw something or paint something or record some music or write down some music, you have an automatic copyright protection in that, which is great. The only problem with that is that the actual protection it gives is not very much. And it really comes down to being able to stop people from copying it once you've proven that they've copied and that they shouldn't have copied and that they had access to copy and that you really own it. So there's all these things you have to do, and in the end, really all you get is to make them stop. That's where the copyright registration comes into play. It is a way to get more than that, and getting more than that's really important because, for example, if the penalty for breaking into your house and stealing your stuff was that after you proved that they did that and that the stuff was actually yours and that they shouldn't have done that and they should have known that they should have done that, then the biggest penalty they can get is that they have to give it back. That would suck, and we'd have a lot more people stealing from each other. Instead, the penalty is a lot bigger than that. And so same thing with copyright registration. The penalty is a lot bigger if you actually have a registration. You can get, I think it's up to $150,000 per infringement. You don't even have to prove that they actually damaged you. And so having a copyright registration is really helpful, really important, and makes a big difference. Another thing that's great about a copyright registration is that your copyright protection that's automatic, as far as I know, it only covers the United States. It doesn't cover anywhere else. But if you get a copyright registration here in the United States, your copyright protection extends pretty much over the whole rest of the world. There's 180 countries that are part of the Berne Convention, and they basically, there's a treaty that everybody signed that said if you get a copyright registration in one of these countries, then it basically counts for all the countries as if you had filed a copyright registration in each of those countries. And so for really cheap, you can get worldwide copyright protection on designs that you do, comics, games, music, movies, films, video, performances, anything, right? Anything that's sort of creative, artwork, sculptures, those sorts of things. So if you produce anything like that, and especially if anything that you produce like that is being sold. So for example, if you're producing training materials that you sell, like info products, things like that, you've got to get a copyright registration. Super important, super helpful. And the key is that those extra damages that you can get with a copyright registration, they only count if the copying happens after you file for the copyright application. And so you can't just see that someone's copying and then come back and say, oh, let's file a copyright and then we can get damages. No, that's not going to work. You got to file it first. And so just make sure that you're doing it before you put yourself at risk of someone stealing from you. So that's copyright applications and why they're so great. Out of all the different kinds of intellectual property, they're the cheapest to get, the easiest to get, the least trouble. And so just make sure it's part of your regular routine to prepare and file those. If you want to file them yourself, which out of all the different kinds of registrations, you're the most likely to succeed if you're doing it yourself, go to copyright.gov. And that's a great place to go to get a lot of information, and that's also the place to go to file it. And if you file it there, then I think you're looking at $35 government fee or $55 if you're a company. And just make sure you read things really carefully and do it right. If you do it wrong, then you might not get any protection at all. So just be careful with that. And And obviously, this broadcast is not meant to replace, advice from an attorney. So where you need it, then get advice from an attorney. And that's it. So that's all I have to say about copyrights. If anybody has any questions, then hit me with it. If not, then I'll just kind of look at myself and show off my cool hair and the trees behind me. It's just gorgeous. Just a gorgeous day. I love it. So anyways, hope you're having a great day, and talk to you later.